Okay, I think we're all set.
Okay, hi everyone. It's really exciting to be here at Madison. Thank you for having me visit your ELAC to share a little bit about what reclassification is and what the ELPAC is and how those two things are related. My name is Doris Castillo. I'm the Assistant Director of Teaching, Learning, and Educational Equity. I am the individual that kind of oversees our multilingual programs across the district, TK to Lincoln, the high school. So I just want to start by giving you just an overview of what we're going to talk about. So I'll go ahead and go over the reclassification criteria. There's 4 criteria we need to look at. We'll look at what the ELPAC provides you as one of the criteria, and I'll go over a little bit of the details of that, how you read the scores, and then we'll go into what is the process that SLUSD follows to get a student reclassified. Okay, next slide. So let's start first with what are the reclassification requirements? So reclassification is for students who are English learners. Most of you have students who are English learners and who are learning English, or multilingual students who are emergent bilinguals. So your students are typically tagged in California as an English learner, and they work towards proficiency to get reclassified as proficient English speakers. And so the state provides us with 4 criteria, and we can kind of model a little bit to the needs of our students based on standards for the last criteria, but for the most part, they handle criteria 1 through 3. So the first criteria is the ELPAC. And so the ELPAC is the English Language Proficiency Assessment for California. It is a summative assessment in 4 domains: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And students take this every single year in the spring. And in order for students to be considered for reclassification, they need to achieve a 4 on the summative ELPAC or a 3 on the alternate ELPAC. The alternate ELPAC is made for students that are in a mild, moderate, or mod severe special education program. Okay, so that's criteria 1. Next slide. Criteria 2 is basically, what does your teacher say about how you're doing in the classroom? Real live instruction in the classroom. It's based on the assessments that she sees and her designated ELD, how the child is doing overall in their English development in their core subjects. And so it's the opportunity for the teacher to weigh in on, do you think this child is ready? Because they're seeing them day in, day out. They're providing all that instruction. So criteria 4 requires the teacher to recommend and tell us why or why not the student should move forward with the reclassification process. Next slide. Criteria 3 is for you. So criteria 3 involves the parents. We need to really talk to the parents about, what do you think? What are you seeing at home? What are the grades coming back as? What is the teacher saying to you? How do you hear your child speaking, reading, writing in English? And how do you see their development? And so that is a consultation with a parent to make sure that they feel comfortable about services that are about to be withdrawn because the child no longer needs them. Okay. And the last criteria, this is criteria 4. This is the one that the LEA, so it's basically the district, gets to kind of choose. This might change as time progresses. It's shifted as far as like letting us manipulate the assessment, not manipulate the assessment, but choose what assessments are standards based and make a child be ELA proficient based on what we were already doing in the districts. Most districts tend to use very similar things. In the past, we were only able to use the CASP, the California ELA assessment, just an assessment that our students take from 3rd grade up. Now, the only thing about that is, if you notice, I said 3rd grade, but we have, and in particular at Madison, you have lots of kids that are emergent bilinguals or bilinguals right from the start in kinder. So they have to have the opportunity for reclassification earlier. So we added, and lots of districts add this particular assessment to the STAR assessment. The STAR assessment, they take 3 times a year. Okay, and they take it in their classrooms, and kinder and first take an early literacy assessment, and second, 3rd, 4th, and 5th take a reading assessment, and they need to score in the 30th percentile. Okay, they need to score in, actually, let me see here. That one also has, yeah, Okay, actually, elementary needs to score in the 40th percentile, sorry. Secondary has to score in the 30th percentile. Elementary has to score in the 40th percentile on that star. Or when they taste the CASP, but like I said, the CASP isn't for kinder, first or second, they need to score a 3 or a 4 on the ELA section of that exam. Now, only thing I also want to add is that there are students in special education who might take alternate assessments in this area, so that is also included. One example is the CA, which is a similar alternate assessment that the state put out, like the CASP assessment for ELA. And if you're taking the CA and your student is in special education, mild mod, mod sev, tend to be the spaces where those students qualify, and that is a MET of a 3. Okay, on that assessment. So those are the 4 criteria that you need in order for you to be considered for reclassification. Is there any questions on those? Okay, I'll move on. Let me know if you need me to stop, Ms. Hill. This is a copy of a report that parents receive and that live in Aries in the Aries portal for you to see of the ELPAC score. Okay, so this is what you would get as an example of a second grader. And this second grader has an overall score of a 3. And that would not qualify this child for reclassification because they need to get a 4. And if you notice on the right side, it's broken down further into an oral language score, which shows a 2, and a written language score, which shows a 3. And so this kind of tells you a little bit of where the child would need support, where are the areas that the child is beginning to develop or well developed. And so we as teachers can know where to better support when we do designated ELD. You as parents know what to watch out for during designated ELD. Okay, but the most important thing is the overall score there. This child has a 3, so this child wouldn't qualify for criteria 1. You need to have a 4 on the ELPAC. And these scores come in the end of May, beginning of June, and through the summer. And these are the scores that we use in the fall to reclassify students. Okay. Next slide. So these are the windows that we use for reclassification. We have a system called Elevation that houses all of our English learner, multilingual learner data. And in here, if you notice, we will pull the ELPAC from the spring. The kids are about to take the test now. So they take the ELPAC in the spring. And that is the score we will use next year for all of the reclassification windows. When the scores come in, because they come in, like I said, May all the way through August, depending on how they're scoring them from the state. We score some internally. They do some of the written. So summer, we do a group of kids. Then as we keep getting scores, fall, we do a group of kids. Winter, we do a group of kids, and we catch them whenever it is that they meet the criteria. What's important to know is that it says Spring ELPAC 2024. Now, if you recall, criteria 1, which is the ELPAC of a 4, you only have one opportunity to get that 4 in the spring. So it's really important to help our students prepare for that test, because the star, they're able to take 3 times during the year or more if they're getting progressed. So this is why during the windows, if you got a 4, we know during the whole year, if you are a potential candidate. So if you have a 4, we draw a list up and there's a potential candidacy. Then we start to monitor the 3rd criteria, a 4th criteria, all of those things, 2nd criteria, right? What is the teacher seeing? What is the teacher thinking? Have we spoken to the parent? And one of the most important ones is the 3rd criteria, which is the star. How did they score in the fall? Okay, did you take it again a month later? Are they close to the 40th percentile? And we start to look at that. So we do reclassify, even though we have some windows, we do reclassify students the moment that they reach the criteria. We start the process. But these are big markers that we have that actually signal to us to look at all the progress to make sure no one is missed should they qualify. Okay. Next slide. And the last one is a lot of information, but I want it here for you to see is basically the process the district uses to reclassify a student, right? So the very first thing is that we have a list of students that have met the criteria. We pull a list on that platform that I said on Elevation, all the kids that have a 4, and we start looking at the 4th criteria, the star, who also met the star. And those are the 2 big major factors that we use to generate this list. Once we know they've met them, we start working our way to criteria 2 and 3. 2 meaning the teacher. We send out a form to the teacher to have them look at the academic record and give their recommendation. We call a parent and let them know how exciting it is that they've reached these scores that meet the criteria and how are they feeling about the reclassification process. Then the administrator is able to approve. They have the final approval to make sure they've looked at what the teacher has said, what the parent has said, what are the scores, and they do the final approval, which then gets sent to the district office where we change the status of the child to an RFEP. RFEP is Reclassified Fluent English Proficient. That is, a student has been reclassified. So then you see it on Aries, top corner of the portal, it'll say LEP, which is signals that you're an English learner, limited English proficient. We don't like to use that term. We like to use more of an emergent bilingual, multilingual learner, because we know our students have assets coming in multiple languages, even if they're learning English. But that is how the state tags it. Then they get reclassified at the top corner. You'll notice it'll say RFEP on Aries. We monitor those RFEP students for 4 years after reclassification because we want to make sure that we're keeping tabs on how they're doing, because services are the ones that get withdrawn, right? So they no longer qualify for designated ELD services. They're still just in everything else, every regular core program. For elementary students, it means that they don't participate in possible small group designated ELD. At the secondary level, it's different because at the secondary level, these students actually have particular courses dedicated to designated ELD. So it requires a course change. This is why it's really, really important for us to have all the information in there and monitor them for 4 years so we know if the supports need to be put back in place or if they're doing great, and we're checking in with parents about their progress. So that is reclassification in a nutshell. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening, and I'll open it up to any questions.
I did have one question. You said that you consult with the parents before reclassification. And so in that consultation with the parents, if the parent is not feeling it's the right time, like how do you assess that?
Yeah, we consider it's a conversation. It's, we don't make the decision by ourselves. So we want to make sure that the parent is comfortable with that decision. So like any kind of decision that happens sometimes with what services are provided to students, it's just a partnership. And so sometimes we come to an agreement, we give our recommendation, we present the data, and sometimes the parent does say, great, okay, I see, I understand. Sometimes the parent feels like, no, I don't think he's quite ready. And then, those are real considerations to take before we move forward.
And vice versa. Sometimes the teacher will say, I don't think the child is ready, and we won't move forward. So we would try to maintain the requirements and meet the criteria for the student. And it is a dialogue that we have. Additionally, Kevin, we are always constantly monitoring the student over time. So even though they may become reclassified, we can check to see, how they're doing and progressing in their academics, to see if this is working for them. Great question. Thank you.
And just for the record, I don't think my son is going to be reclassified immediately soon. So I wouldn't have a big concern. But this is something my wife has brought up, like what happened. She doesn't want it to happen too fast with, if he needs a little bit more support. So I will relay the information to the top of the management scheme over here.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to recognize, the brilliance of the children as they move forward, right, in their academics, but you are absolutely right. We want to make sure we're not pulling services too soon. So those are all important conversations. So I do appreciate the question.
Welcome, Alba. Thank you for coming and joining the meeting tonight. Really appreciate your presence.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any questions or comments regarding Ms. Castillo's report to us around
No,
ELAC and reclassification?
no, and sorry for coming in late, but thank you for this information. It's really helpful.
Thank you.
I
And-
have one more question. Where do we find this information? Is this on the which is that the Aries portal?
Yes, so if are you asking about what your child's LPAC level is, for example?
Oh yeah, the scores and all. Yeah, that stuff.
Yes, they live on the Aries portal under state assessments. You should see them right there, and that's a copy of the sample on slide 9 is exactly what you'll see on your portal. You'll see a PDF version of this on your portal, and it comes in the language that you've chosen. So the state sends it to you in whatever language you've chosen. So if you're speaking Spanish or Mandarin or Punjabi, it's translated in those languages for you to see. But it is in your portal, in your students' portal via the parent view.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. If you do need access, just let us know. They can help you at the site, help you find it with your parent facilitator, or if you need a printed copy, I'm sure they're happy to do that for you.
Yeah, and that's a great plug for our monthly Parent Smarts Academy, because these are exactly the kinds of things that we go over in depth there. And we'd love to see more families participate and join in those sessions with Miss Moran and sometimes Miss Hill and myself. So great. All right. Well, we won't keep you, Miss Castillo, if we don't have any more questions. We want to thank you and honor your time.